David, I had a very late night on Monday night on the Belfast Telegraph's Irish League transfer tracker. I was hoping for a quiet one. It wasn't anything like it. We had transfers going through at 11:59 p.m. It was a hectic one, but we got some really significant and important transfers. Let's start with one that maybe came a little bit out of the blue, and that is Fouad Sule's return to the Irish League with Ballymena United coming back from Indonesia. An incredible signing for Ballymena. I mean, Fuad Sule was a crucial part of Lauren's title success, and then went on to do very well and be popular at Glentoran. Was a big part of the night they won the County Antrim Shield.
First of all, well done to you, Mr. Bailie, for keeping us consistently informed, and your late working hours were greatly appreciated. In terms of Fuad Sule coming back to the Irish League and coming back to Ballymena United, that is certainly a statement signing, and I've got to say I'm delighted for the good people of Ballymena. You know that there's obviously big resources being made available. Of that, there is no doubt. Because if we're being brutally honest, Keith, you know, Fuad Sule's not coming back here for the good of his health. He's been at Lauren, he's been prominent there, he played a prominent role at Glentoran, decided to go elsewhere, but that is a big signing, and you know there has been financial clout, you know, to get that one over the line. I suppose part of the chat around his signing will be, you know, the suspension that was in place prior to him going to Indonesia. I'm not sure exactly where that.
Well, the Irish FA say that's been cleared, so he will be able to.
Well, then that makes it an even better signing, you know, because it means that he can contribute right from the get go. He's a player who you know, very much admired, you know, particularly down at Lauren. He was that, you know, almost minder, if you like, you know, who broke play up, you know, who made sure there was a physical presence, and if he can reproduce what he did while at Lauren and at Glentoran, my goodness gracious me, that is some signing for Ballymena United.
And Josh Kelly's move paved the way for Josh Daniels to sign for Glentoran. I mean, we've seen Josh in the Irish League before. He was superb for Glenavon. You know, obviously played for Derry City as well. He's been away for quite some time now, but it's a really exciting signing for Glentoran. It's
a tremendous signing for Glentoran, a tremendous signing for Irish League football. When you think of Josh's circumstances, you know, he's talked about wanting to come home because of family reasons. So good to see him back here. You know, a young man who has had a tough time and lost in his family. So great to see him back here. We weren't sure where he was going. Was he going to Lauren? Was he going to Glentoran? And obviously, you know, part of his going to Glentoran was for Josh Kelly then to go to Cliftonville. And that takes me back to all of the rules and regulations around squads and about how many players and how you're homegrown and who are, I can't remember all the terminology, but certainly an excellent signing. And when you see what Glentoran have at the moment, he can only add that extra bit of quality.
Well, David, you mentioned this in relation to Fuad Sule, who, as you say, isn't coming back for £20 a week, is he? Let's be honest. But it's not just Fuad Sule, it's not just Josh Daniels. There's been a number of high-profile signings, and while we don't know the exact wage they're on, and we're not claiming to, it's fair to say that good money is being spent on players in the Irish League at the moment. Big wages are being paid out. I have a fear, and I've wrote about this in the Belfast Telegraph on my column on Tuesday. I have a fear about sustainability going forward, and when you look at the money, we know that the broadcast money in the Irish League isn't massive like it is in some other leagues, and the same goes for sponsorship money and gate money. We don't have massive amounts of money coming in, but it does seem that quite a lot of money is going out. Do you share my fears about sustainability, David?
Very much so, Keith. I'll tell you where I'm at from a player's perspective. You know, the drive is to have all clubs as full time. And that's a big sacrifice for players. So if that's their one and only occupation, you know, the life of a footballer, the playing time is limited, and so they will want to maximise the monies that could be made during this period. So I'm not going to start hammering players because of the money that they're receiving, but there is a correlation between players' demands and also obviously what's being paid out. The sustainability, I'm really beginning to question what is going on. Obviously, Mr. Poor has come in and has remained. Mr. Bruce has been and has gone. You've got Mr. Ross at Coleraine. You have Mr. Smith down at Carrick Rangers, along with Mr. Clark. You look now at what's happened to Cliftonville. That has now fallen through. Glenavon have now got new investment. You look at the money that's being spent at Ballymena United. Obviously, I think it's more than likely coming from the McBurney family, who have always been, supporters of Ballymena. So what we're seeing, Keith, isn't just big expenditure from those clubs who are full time, but those clubs who are ostensibly part time and who are not even hybrid. And if we're led to believe that it's correct that there are some players who are going from a full-time situation to a part-time situation, they're not hardly going to be going for less money. And if rumours are to be believed, there's even talk that some players are leaving full-time clubs to go to part-time clubs for the same, or if not more money than they were earning. So when you put all of that away, who's paying for this? Because it's not going to be paid for by attendances through supporters coming through the gate. It's not going to be paid for by social clubs, no matter how good or how successful. It's not going to be paid by sponsorship, commercial or otherwise. It's just not good. There isn't that amount of money to be generated. It is most certainly not going to be pushed ahead by monies coming from TV, whether it's obviously terrestrial and BBC, or from what Niffle have now launched their own TV. So all of those income streams that are currently existing, there's not a chance in the world that they're going to be able to sustain and continue to fund what is being paid out. So it comes to the investors. And it's going to be simply down to how long will they continue to be in place? How long are they prepared to continue to spend the money? And that's where it's at. And by the way, not for 1 second am I encouraging any of those folk who I've mentioned. Thank you for coming in and thank you for making your funds available. It certainly is making the Irish League a much more interesting place. But I still sort of think about the boom and bust, and I look to our brethren, down south, and I think of the number of clubs who speculated to accumulate.
Yeah.
And when that didn't happen, and those who were there putting money in decided enough's enough, you wrote an excellent column because you actually referenced what was going on in England with a couple of clubs, Sheffield Wednesday being one such club. You've got Bury, who are no longer in existence, as far as I'm aware, or whatever version of
well, they're back as a Phoenix club.
Yes, but where they were previously. So it's exciting times, in so many ways, but our existing income streams, are not going to sustain what's being paid out. It's down to the generosity and the commitment to continue to remain within Irish League football for those men who are putting their hands in their pockets. I don't know how long they're going to be able to continue to afford that.
The good news is, we're getting some element of financial fair play is being slowly brought in through Niffle, which is a positive thing. It worries me at the moment because, people know I'm an art supporter and everybody knows art story and I've been through that experience. And like when you lose your club or you lose your ground, it's a heartbreaking experience. It rips the heart and soul out of not just your football club, but your town. And I would loathe to see that happen to any of our clubs. And, it's a very real possibility.
I'm not suggesting or even questioning or doubting the commitment of those who have invested. But when you talk about investment, you're expecting a return. And what I'm going to say is I don't know how any of those clubs or any of those gentlemen are going to get a return on what they put in. If they continue to be able to commit themselves to the clubs that are there, absolutely fantastic. But, there's got to be some thought going forward that we can do this with this amount of money. But if that amount of money suddenly wasn't available, then what do we do? And that's where I want us to make sure that there's some form of insurance that clubs don't go bust, that they're not lost, and that the footballing community and the supporters who I bang on about, who are most important in all of this, don't lose their clubs.